We protect ourselves from outside, but we don't protect ourselves from inside. And this is the underscore of this conversation. How can you protect yourself from inside after protecting yourself from outside? Because no matter how much you've protected yourself from out, we have seen men and women in ties and in combat, but they're battling something. And many of us, because we are exposed, we shall cover this. This is the reason as to why we need this awareness. This is the reason as to why we need this talk. I want to tell you that it is not the movement of the clock that determines the newness of you. Everyone, I see many of you have watches. It is not the time. Every day we go to sleep and we tell people we're going to wake up tomorrow. You're here, you're saying that this talk is going to end maybe in 45 minutes. It's not the movement of the clock that determines the newness of you. It is the movement in your brain. What movement happens in there is the most important bit. And many of us have excluded this movement, but been moving outward, forgetting the inside movement. You have been trained as police officers to catch those guys who are rioting, to catch thieves, to catch thugs, to disperse of riots, to do everything. But you have not been trained to parade that one person in your mind. That one thief that happens in every one of us, regardless of our titles, regardless of our ranks, regardless of our qualifications. We have not been trained in that. And that's what we are going to do. Because the parade that we attend every day should be the parade that we attend in our own brains. Every time you wake up, do you check in? Do you check in to know how you are, how you feel, how you think, and how you act? If we stand here, and maybe you do something, as we have seen many of us do, they'll judge me based on my actions. But nobody will judge me based on what was he thinking at that point in time. Besides, how was he feeling before he acted? Because action is the last. Your thought will determine your feeling, and your feeling will determine how you act. We put on uniforms to cover our bodies, but what covers our mind? And this is the underscore of this conversation. Look at these guns. Which one will you take? They have called you, there is a riot happening here, or there are rebels that happened here, or there is something. Which of these guns will you take? B. Why? Somebody should tell me, why would they take on B? And the reason is very simple. We'll get to it. But let me tell you, as I've said, there are three things that will determine your mental health. I know you've taken courses on mental health. I'm not a psychologist. Neither am I a psychotherapist, neither anything of that. I've just studied the brain. I'll tell you, your thoughts will determine the way you feel and will determine the way you think. An average human being, as you're seated here looking at me, each and of you, every one of you is having 56 thoughts in less than a minute. Albert Einstein said we are products of habits. Thoughts, 56, but that's not important because as you're here, you're thinking, not so. Some of you are looking at me, but you're not looking at me actually. You're thinking, when is he finishing? When is he? Maybe you have some other things. Everybody has something to do. But out of the 56, they say 80 are repetitive, which is fine. The way you thought yesterday is the way you think today. The road you used to come here today is the same road you've been using. The way you got up in the morning is the same way. We are in a loop, moving in and out. But out of the 56 and 80, 96 are negative. 96. 56 thoughts in less than a minute. 80 are repetitive. 96 are negative. That's why you look at him and you're like, I don't like his hair. You look at him, he's like, I don't like his color. You look at him, we are products of negativity. That's for a fact. Now, how do you think you'll change your thoughts if you don't know the thoughts that are running in your brains? Let me bring it down closer to the heart. An average human being, as you're here seated, laughing and looking at me, your heartbeat, if we are to measure, it's at 60 and 100 heartbeats per minute. Yes? There we say you're calm. You're normal, you're fulfilled, you're excited, you're happy. There's nothing bothering you. But when your heartbeat moves from 70 and past 100, what do they say? Pressure. Do you know why? That means you're in fear and flight. I know the force, they have taught us how to handle fear and flight. But an average human being is living in fear and flight. So if you're having 60 to 100, 70 and above, calling it pressure, you have 27 emotions. 27, name them. Now imagine stay with me, guys, and let's unwrap this. You're having 56 thoughts in less than a minute. We have covered that. You are having 27 emotions battling within you. How can you be seen, be understood, and be heard? Think about it for a moment. This is what we all desire. Every time there is something happening to you, before you go to the statistics, you've lost one. Either somebody has not seen you, your emotions are beating, or your thoughts are running past. And this is what has affected our lives to an extent that if we don't catch our emotions, we'll move out emotionally absent. Turn to your neighbor. Just turn to your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor and look at them. You started talking, you started smiling. Did I tell you to talk and smile? That's how contagious our emotions can be. Right? If you can't check on your emotions, that means you're going to go out angry and everybody you meet will be angry. Has it happened to you? And when you go out when you're happy, just as how you've turned to your friend, you start smiling. The second, our social ability. We are social human beings. We relate, we commune. That's who we are. So many of us as police officers go out on duty when we are mentally unclean. We are emotionally jammed. 56 thoughts, it's like, then blurring. We don't have clarity because there's a lot of things that are happening in ourselves regardless of what we see outside of us. But let's understand some of these basic concepts. How can we be here? And we're talking about mental health and wellness. And we can and how can we get into the reality of the matter? The reality of the matter is that our mental health is determined in 3 pillars. The first one is your personal life. You are a human before you become a soldier, you become a policeman, before you become a doctor, before you become a teacher. You are a human being. And the truth of the matter is that the force is exposed to too much. Death, you are at the forefront. You are looking at these people. Maybe you're trying to save somebody and you didn't make it, and this person didn't make it. And all of a sudden, this whole image is flashing in your head. Chaos. We are going into elections. Oh, we have seen this already. People are shouting, screaming, they're doing all sorts of things. You are the people that have the camera. You are recording everything because you are at the front line. You are looking at these things firsthand. Screaming mothers and children, maybe those that have been tear gassed or those that have been beaten by thugs, you are there, you are looking at them. Maybe this mother is down there, the child is helpless. You're there at the front line to see. Remember, you're recording thoughts. The other is crashed cars, which, as we have seen the other day, I was looking at in Zimbabwe, they had burnt down some incumbents, who was coming to contest his car, and the police was there. These are things you guys are getting in your heads. And we civilians, ungratefulness. We are shouting, throwing stones, doing everything. Personally, they are attacking you before anything else. The second pillar is our institution. There is pressure coming from everywhere, from our bosses, from our line of work. There is pressure. You are pressurized to do because you follow commands. Order is an order. We have limited resources. We know I normally tell guys that if you think you're going to work either in the police or in the army looking for money, you're in the wrong field. Because the army and the police are there to serve. Because they are selfless, and this is what they do, not for money, but it's something they do to serve. So your pay may not be that good, right? But you're human beings. Remember, you have responsibilities, you have families, you have things, you have desires like any other individual. You are an individual before even you become. So there is a lot of pressure that is coming in. Then poor equipment, dispersing of these riots. How do you do it? You may go there just with a baton. These people are having stones, they're having water, they're having jerry cans, they're having all sorts of things. Then unpredictability in our workspace. Today you are in Machinde, tomorrow they're taking you to Guru, the other day they're taking you to Kasese. These are things that are affecting your mental state of being, not only your thoughts, but also affecting your what? Your emotions. And finally, risk of disciplinary measures. Many of us are caught off guard. So you're trying to be conscious, but As you become conscious, you're losing sight of what you're supposed to be doing, in a nutshell, because your responsibility is to take immediate action. You won't think and stand and say, so wait, let me first check. What is my emotion? No. There is a responsibility. There is a role you're supposed to play. The third is our families. Our family members. We have emotionally withdrawn based on the images we see while at work. The things that we go through. We have this confidentiality. I don't think you will be here and I come to you. I tell you my problem and you're sharing it with your wife or your spouse. It's close to impossible. But my problem, ladies and gentlemen, remember the brain records. That information that I give you will affect you mentally, if not checked. Now, when you go home, you're replaying the same image, the same information that I gave you, and your spouse is asking, what's up? You isolate yourself. Fear by family members that you may not return. It happens. You're going to the battlefield. You're going to get these guys in chaos, in crowds to bring them back in control. You may not come back. It's not guaranteed. So the person you're leaving home is worried about you. And you are also worried about that person that you left home. Am I going to go back? Then financial constraints. I've talked about it. Then inability to share experiences. We keep things to ourselves. We bottle in, as we call it. And these are the three pillars that will affect all of us, either at your personal level, institutional level, or at the family level. There is, when you look at, I've never held a gun. I see it in movies and I see it from a distance. But I know before that bullet goes out, there is a trigger that you press. So let us look at the triggers that let out that bullet, right? But let me ask you, what is that name of mental disease in your native language? Mental health or mental disorders. How do they call that person in your local language? For me, I'm a Muchiga, right? So, Omushazi. But who else in your other local language? Omugwiraro. Ebani. Edalu. But wait, Ezoli. Do you think that defines what mental disorders are? Definitely, that's a generalized name that we have given to these kind of people. But we have so many of them, and that is why we are not, the statistics are still increasing, because we don't have that word in our vocabulary. And because we don't have it, we cannot manage it. We only think a person who was undressed is a mad person, but there are people who are undressing not physically but mentally. Right? So those may fall in the biological. We are born just like that. The second is society and culture. Yes. All right. Society and culture. Tell me your friend and I tell you who you are. You've heard this as we are growing up. I hear peer pressure. Right? You find that you start doing things like smoking, alcoholism, blah, 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 because of the peer. You want to fit in the group. And remember, we are social creatures. So everywhere we go, we want to fit. So we adapt to the culture, to the habits that these people have. The third is experience and gratefulness. Experience is the worst enemy. I have one of my professor friends at Macquarie, and he happened to be ahead of me. I was in senior 1, he was in senior 6 at Mbara High School. Now, the first time we had, if you've been to Maryhill Ombara, you know they normally have these shows, eh? So Maryhill girls had come to Mbara High School to have that. Yes. Okay. that moment of joy and happiness. So this professor, by then, okay, this gentleman goes to talk to this lady and asks if he could dance with her. He was rejected. That the whole school got to know because he did not attend. Immediately this lady screamed out, started talking, belittling him. The spirit of rejection led him out of the hall. And everybody realized, we got to know. Later on, years back, I come and meet him on a certain conference. He's older than me. So I asked him, so how are you doing? How's family? He's like, family? No, I'm not yet married. I've not yet married. I'm like, why? It's like, okay, no. You haven't found the right person. I didn't dig deeper because that was none of my business. Recently, when I came back, I met him at Macquarie when I just joined. Like, hey, It's like, yeah, now I'm this department, I'm a professor. I'm like, so tell me, how is it? How many kids? It's like, no. Like, what happened? So we had a conversation later on. I came to realize that today, when he looks at a tall brown girl, he turns the other side. The heart was broken, his self-esteem was broken to an extent that today he has failed to date because he still lives with the experience of rejection. Let me bring it down to us. You may think it's happening there. What if you're moving in the bush and you see something black and long and it's shaking in the grass? What would you think? Where would you run, Afan?
I think I have met the devil.
Which devil exactly? The snake. But is it a snake? It's the experience. Because you know anything long and tall and trying to shake is a snake. Maybe it's just a rubber. Maybe it's just a rope. But you see how we carry on experiences based on what we think and feel, but not what we actually believe. And this happens when it comes to mental health. The under experiences and gratefulness. I started on by appreciating. Many of us joined the force with no rank. And every day you're working towards, it becomes a disorder. Because you lose sight of what you're supposed to do in trying to pursue that idea. I'm not saying it is bad, but you become crazy with that idea that everything rotates and ends with that idea that you have.
With a positive mind.
With a positive mind. That is added on. Or we come back to our normal things. You go out, I know policemen don't live a luxury life. Not because you don't afford it, but you have better things to think about than luxury. But let's come back to our kids or our friends that we have seen out there. This person buys an iPhone 1. I don't own an iPhone, so I'll speak for the audience. iPhone 1 wants iPhone 2, iPhone 3, iPhone 4. If he doesn't get iPhone 5, he's getting obsessed with something, right? Yes. It becomes an addiction that everything you're thinking, but we forget the one thing. Gratefulness. How many of us got up today and said, thank you, God, for having opened up my eyes? Do you know how many millions of people die every day? Besides, who are you that God gets up every day? We have billionaires, philanthropists. You know, people are doing great things. They are dying, but I got up. So it's the small thing. Being grateful for what you have is a mental state. And if you cannot catch it, then it keeps in a loop. Remember the 53 thoughts? You keep running. And the last one is the lifestyle. Lifestyle is a disorder. How many of you have seen guys who come out of the gym and they are holding a bottle of Coca-Cola or Sprite or a soda? Obey. Thank you very much. Right? Lifestyle, the things that have affected us as human beings, is not the habit. You can have those patterns very right, but your lifestyle off. Today we have been blessed with the small screens. In psychology, we have the current disease that is actually there's some researchers who are really working tirelessly to find statistics for it. We call it the triple S, the small screen syndrome. To an extent that if you leave your phone, for us men, you tap on it, you're like, hey, I don't have my phone, and go back. You can't spend a minute or a second without tapping on your phone. You have left your phone so open to an extent that it has become a dustbin. Every notification comes to you. How can you concentrate? How can you be seen, be understood, and be heard? Yet you're spending much of your time. I'm not saying that small screens are bad, but it is the trigger that is causing this. We talked about depression. Do you know what depression is? Do you think it's easy for you to push this Afande while you're seated? To push him to move. Do you think it's easy? Now you're putting the mindset of, yeah, but let's come back to reality. Let's be humans. Not so. It is very hard to push somebody seated and easy to push somebody standing. It's more or less very hard to push a tire that is deflated, a car that has deflated tires, than a car that has functioning tires. And that is deflation. You are deflated. You're in fear and flight to an extent that you are nowhere. You're just in there.
Time is now. Mine heritage and power remain.